what's going on, guys? This is Remy with LVLONE News. I'm here to bring you a little review, not your sort of typical review. I've been using this product now for about a year on and off. Something that you've known for quite some time in terms of the kind of company and everything else, but I'll just kind of get into it. It is my Blackberry Key2. So this came out about a year ago. And here is the box for you. And I'm not gonna just go into like reviews and specs and stuff like that. I feel like if you have this phone or you were thinking about getting this phone, then you would already had it. Or, you know, maybe the price has dropped now and you're thinking of possibly going to a Blackberry. But I will say that the phone's primary use is really for, not is like a consumer-based product, but a communication device. And one of the biggest things with me using the phones, I'm not going to get into all the features, but I will get into why, you know, some of the features that I thought were the most notable and stuff like that on the device. So it is running Android, and you know, being that this came out around June, July and stuff of last year, I had been using it on and off then. Didn't think anything too crazy of it, though. It was more of like a phone that when I used it out in the street, people really wondered what kind of phone it was, or that they didn't know that Blackberry was still making phones. And that's a very notable thing because it is a pretty sleek device. I will say the back, given the way it is, it does give you, like, the texture does give you a good grip to hold the phone. It's probably one of the best phones to use to have on you, grip style and everything, that doesn't feel like it's bare naked when it doesn't have a case on. So, and there is a really strong Gorilla Glass and stuff for the front, and it is a durable phone. So I wouldn't worry too much about like not having the case. You know, this sort of phone can survive different things. Not like a lot of the other phones that it's mostly glass, so, you know, it's sometimes even glass on both sides. So, you know, you'd have to protect it from falls and crashes because it would normally just destroy itself or shatter at the mere look of concrete or the floor in general. So the big thing with this is that you can just use it as it is, and obviously physical keyboard. So big deal, brought back the physical keyboard. Key One had it, comes from older Blackberry phones. This phone, no exception. There's decent spacing and stuff, so when you're using the phone, you can be pretty much typing stuff. It took me a little while to get used to it, but when I did, you know, it felt kind of second nature. The big thing I would like to say, like, you know, there's been obviously reviews and things with using the keyboard, and some people like the nostalgia, some people didn't. Obviously, people have a preference sometimes now of just using touch keyboard and stuff. I felt like in most situations, I tend to use both. So there are certain cases and instances that, like, me typing certain things in wasn't the most conducive. When you're just trying to like get into different types of things on the phone, or you're trying to type messages and stuff, one of the bigger things is that they don't have certain dedicated buttons, like a period, which is a little bit strange. But when it comes to things like that, I am normally typing with the keypad, and then I could prop up the numbers just a little bit better and faster on the digital keyboard that comes up because it is an Android device. So that I'll do that, and then I'll actually either tap for you know, like a period or something else. But I mean, there's either a couple ways to get to it on the keyboard, which is not the most convenient, or I will just get to it on the digital keyboard. So I kind of go from up to down a little bit. It's not really like a real issue to me. It kind of just feels like I've had a learning curve, just kind of going from one thing to the other. But the physical keyboards kind of do feel nice. The button pushing, the off pushing of the buttons, that feels good. There are gestures. Funny enough, with the keyboard, it does have some gesture stuff and some stuff that is actually touch sensitive. So when you see right here, there is a spacebar on the bottom. Spacebar doubles up as the fingerprint scanner. So when you see, into my phone. So really cool there. I was able to get into the phone with the spacebar. Different things to do with obviously is Android, but I can actually swipe with the keyboard, which is interesting in many ways. It lets you do things like when you're typing, you could swipe left and it'll like start deleting keys or start deleting letters that you've been typing, and then different gestures do different things. The other thing that's really notable is that you could also hotkeys different keys to do different things or whatever. So for example, if I press E, so there I go, goes into my Citibank app. Different things like that. So they do a really good way of trying to make different things work differently with this phone. And I will say this, I wish that there were certain things that did transfer over into like normal regular phones. This, if you try to maximize its usage, is a really tricky kind of device to kind of use. It has a lot of like hotkeys and macro settings and little things like that that kind of make things to use a little bit easier in your life. The issue becomes is trying to use the keyboard all the time is not the best plan when there are certain things that's just not laid out the same. Or, you know, the fact that the screen size is not the biggest. This wasn't too big of an issue. I feel like there's a slight sophistication with having straight up a keyboard here and then the screen here. It's just that when you try to see video and stuff like that, as you can see, it's not full screen, not even on the device, because it has a weird type of box on here. So you are creating black bars on either the top or the left and right when you're trying to watch a video. So not the most ideal. I think it does kind of just get the job done. There's the kind of view videos and everything else is all safe and good. The one big thing is that BlackBerry had an update in April, and their update had a few security things that were going to work a little bit different. There are a few bugs in the actual update. Things with notification is not working for everybody, not well. I feel like I kind of got things on and off, and with sound and stuff. Big thing is that BBM for just has kind of been done away, and now there's BBM Enterprise. So BBM Enterprise kind of took over that. That runs on a subscription model, so I think it's like $250 for around 6 months or so. Don't quote me on that, but we're able to kind of use it slightly. Right now, I kind of like deleted what I had, but you know, with BlackBerry's messaging app, you can message, you can read receipts and everything else. You know, it kind of works the way it does normally. What I will say is that they have their own dedicated stuff, somewhat the way Apple has iMessenger. And obviously iMessenger really comes from the state of this, so let's not forget that. It's just more so that, you know, you can send pictures and hybrid stuff, and Android in itself doesn't necessarily still have anything like that. So that's still one kind of thing to know, is that this sort of does. So aside that, one of my favorite features is an app called Locker. So Locker is like a private folder, so you're able to kind of get another set of authentication, get through there, and then you have a whole other level of apps and stuff that you can kind of put here. You can put everything from photos, different apps that you want, like banking or whatever you think has sensitive information. Then you can put things with Firefox, like its own level of Firefox, which if you get out of the app in full, then it'll also like delete your browser history and stuff like that. So there is that when you're going through that. But otherwise, you go to the camera app and then you can press to take its own photos within the actual, and it'll put it into the Locker app, which is really cool. So it's like, you know, things like putting secret photos or just sensitive information that you want to like put there, you can. Not that you need to be living a secret or double life, it's just more of, you know, there are people that you may need to like use the phone for XYZ, and it's just another level of authentication, so that obviously people are not getting into more sensitive material, and that's there. So that's really good, and that works great. BlackBerry also has their DTech by BlackBerry set of security, like apps and things to do. So obviously it'll check between the entire phone and all your apps in what level of security you're actually running with, and what is actually happening with each app, and you know why it's using certain permissions and stuff like that, so that obviously nothing fishy is going on, or it'll actually let you know if it is. To give you an example, this is sort of what it looks like when it's on and well, and you know when you put things on, you kind of scroll through and see all the different apps and stuff like that, what permissions it might be giving, and what it's actually doing with those permissions. So that's really good. If anything feels like it's being compromised, another note of security is to figure out like if there's anything sort of looking a little bit mischief and stuff. So not too bad. Battery life, really, really good on this. It's one of the more high-performing battery lives we've seen on any sort of like smart device kind of thing. So that works really well. They say about like 2 hours of use. I think I could use this phone about like all day to a little bit over that, and it actually does. The areas where it's lacking is having the keyboard. Not, it's a hit or miss for some people. You're either gonna really like it or you're really not gonna like it. I feel like it took me a little while to use it. Once I was using it, and then I found my rock in a hard place when I was using it in between both things. So I used it, and then I used a little bit of the digital keyboard, and then I went back to it. And that's sort of how I felt the most comfortable. So that's the way I used it. And then the camera, well, it takes actually decent photos. It's nothing too crazy. I feel like the front-facing camera is lacking. It's not the best camera out there, obviously, so there's just one thing to note. It'll kind of just get the job done. It'll take 4K video. It's not very stable in terms of its stability. If you have a steady hand and stuff like that, it actually takes a decent video and stuff too, so that's not a problem. I think the main thing is how much you trick out the phone within it to know if you are gonna like it the way it is or not. I think just by using it in the street, it is one of the more sophisticated looking devices that I feel like I've ever used, just in the sense of like, the head turns and people wanting to know what I'm using, and it being a level of a little bit of more of like a business and communication aspect versus, me using just a certain iPhone or something where it's just very much a social phone, and like everybody sort of has it, so that's very convenient. But I feel like it's, especially for just if I'm like in the city or on the subway and I'm using it and I'm typing with a keyboard, people are just very intrigued with what I'm using. So it's like really good on its own. Obviously they left a lot of things in there which were good. The headphone, the earbuds that came with, pretty good on its own merit. So coming with it, that's really good. Still has a headphone jack, that's also very good. And it has a dedicated button that can be programmed to do different things if you want. It initially has itself set for like Google Assistant and stuff, but you can make it do anything. Among all the other buttons, and then even the fast key button. So the fast key works the same way, where you kind of hit that button, hit another button, and boom, it'll bring up something. So I made it bring up like eBay and stuff, and that's all stuff I set. So that button on the bottom will do that and hit it with different keys, and it'll make itself its fast key. Versus, like you holding a key and having it programmed to do something else, because that's also just a programmable key. So there's a lot of things that just kind of make you productivity work pretty fast on the actual device if you use it that way. If you're just trying to use it as a standard smartphone and a replacement to your other smartphone, I don't know if this is the best device. I am lucky in the sense that I can kind of carry around like 2 devices and stuff. So this has actually been a pretty good device to kind of just have, where I'm like, sitting down, taking my time, kind of getting into keys and things, or I've got to go in between emails and stuff, and that sort of works on its own. One more thing the other thing I like to mention is the privacy shade. Privacy shade is probably one of my favorite features. I've had this problem where I'm like traveling and stuff, and when I'm trying to like get access to emails and I'm reading whole text messages, I'm reading things where it's getting pretty much exposed to the public. So people around me are actually can technically see what I'm seeing. And if you're any level of people watcher, then you'll know that people will stare at you, or you will stare at other people, trying to be as incognito as possible. So this gives you another level of security where that's due, and that sort of works on its own, where if I have a type of email where I'm looking at it and it's like, oh look, that's like the full email or something, and I wanted to have like more of a privacy setting, well, I have a security shade. So now I'm gonna get parts coming in that I can kind of just travel through and just actually see what's going on. And I think that's like an awesome feature that it has. I wish that traveled over into other smart devices, but for now, the Blackberry Key2 has it, and we'll see if they do with anything else with that in the future. So that's good stuff. Overall, it's a very different device. It held a price tag of about $650. You get it for different prices. They also have a cheaper model, which does away with a few different things, which tries to keep its core components, and that's the Blackberry Key2 Lite. So between both devices, I think that there is something here for everyone. Will you switch your smartphone for it? Probably not the most advised thing to do. It's just more of if you are upgrading from a much older phone, if you wanted to have a very communication standard phone, if you're a Blackberry fanatic, or if you look into the community and you think you can work this phone the way some people work the phone very, very well, very fast and very sophisticated, this may be it for you. Or if you want to just be different, that's it, then this is for you. I'm almost pretty sure that I've nearly gotten a date just being on this phone. I had this topic of conversation, so until that becomes irrelevant, I'm gonna keep using this device for a while. All right, so this is, hope you guys like my take on it. There are more videos with different devices that I've used for quite some time, so it'll be a little bit of a different take on, the longevity of its usage and what's going on now with it. So like the video if you like the video. If you have any questions or comments, let me know below. We will answer them now. For anything else, definitely subscribe to the page. Let us know what we can be doing in the future, what can be better. This is Remy with LVLONE News. Talk to you later.